Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got that crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all been understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all been understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hi, guys. Hi, Shay. Hi, Neys.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey. Hi, Jeff. Who's that band? That's Bryn. That's Bryn in the chat who literally wrote it, composed it, sang it, played it. He did everything. So shout out to Bryn. Hi, K-Braze. Hi, Amber, Rena, 87, Stephanie, Princess Megan, Elsa, Rich. Yorkie says, afternoon, everyone. Of all the cases I follow, I know the least about this one. Will be nice to get some more information. Awesome, Yorkie. I'm not super sleuthed about this case at all. Everything that I did originally know was pretty much from NASA, but I've been picking up along the way, and it's just a really interesting one. Hi, Dustin. Let me see. Eddie. Scroll. Crichton. Scroll. Elsie Doodles, DKK, Danielle, Legendary. My deepest apologies, Legendary. Musicity Mom. Did I get everyone? Booberry. Hi, Booberry. It is a heartbreaking case, Bryn. It is. Amber says, I've watched hours of it over the last 24 hours. So sad. It's really sad. And it's one that's been, so what year did this happen? It's been like 5 years, right?
Yes, 2017.
And there's been such minimal information surrounding it.
It's an interesting one. It's I always thought it was like a Snapchat, solving. It's like a big social media play in it.
Hi, Real John Doe. Hi, Lucia. She's here, Arena. She said it. Right here. I'm listening. Say my name out loud if you need me. This is going to be an awesome motherfucking panel.
Chris is my hype girl.
Yeah, she's here to hype. Hi, Chosen Rosen. Okay, so we had a massive document dump yesterday. Massive. Right? And there's a lot of interesting things within those documents, including Richard Allen apparently admitting to the murders.
Confessing to his wife and mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all taped.
Yep. Which poses the question, everybody knows those lines are recorded. He knows those lines are recorded. And hi, Indy's Apple Bottom Jeans. Hi, Dave Bass. So it's peculiar. Wonder why he would admit to it on a recorded line multiple times versus, like, if you're going to plead not guilty. Why do you guys think he would do that?
Well, when I look through the documents and see everything the way it plays out, my theory is he was becoming very comfortable in jail, and he was telling a lot of people what he was in there for, and he was getting harassed, and that's why his weight was fluctuating down, and he had some odd behaviors, and like the time frame of everything just kind of coincides with his confession.
Mm-hmm. And I was watching, I don't know where I was watching, but they had the law enforcement officer on, the homicide detective, and they were asking, like, is it common for people who commit such crimes to confess? And the homicide detective says, yeah, I had someone who, after a year, came in and said, listen, this has been eating at me. It's been taking its toll. Like, I need to confess. There are people who subconsciously confess that they don't mean to. But there are people who, to save their family from going through the trial and going through the heartbreak, may open up, similar to what Richard Allen did. And apparently his wife immediately hung up the phone when he did admit.
That's one thing that was very interesting, because he got 1,000 pages end of May, and it could very well be that he's trying to save face for his mother and his wife, and that's why he admitted to them first rather than hearing it during trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when she hung up the phone, I believe she called his lawyer right away.
Right.
And that's why the next day the defense had motions already in place.
Well, and he broke his iPad, his tablet.
How did he break it?
He broke it, and he has not since communicated to anybody in jail since his confession to his wife and mother, and he said it 5 times.
Yeah, and he's only been speaking to his lawyers. There's been no communication with anybody since that confession.
Wow.
He didn't even acknowledge his wife and his mother in court for his last hearing.
And they did show up to support him. Hi,
Yeah.
Creative Art News Media. No communication since April 3rd. So he has been just sitting there. And again, physically, he looks rough. But you have to ask yourself, is this a strategy? I mean, is this all... Listen, if you know your life is on the line, right? Don't tell me that you wouldn't become heavily invested in making sure to appear a certain way. It hasn't so far, Yorkie. That's what's interesting. Hey, Cool Gamer. It's bizarre that he still, as of now, pleaded not guilty, even though he has admitted on a recorded line the minimum of 5 times. Hi, Chica. I'll tell you
Music
what.
City Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Music City Mom, tablets came into jail systems during the COVID era. It was safer. Yeah, it was safer for them to use tablets for each individual inmate than to have them all on a public phone.
So Amber says, what do you all think Anorak, the guy who said he was communicating with the girls and is a SO and planned to meet them that day and is talking to police about a possible trafficking kidnapping? Are you guys familiar with that?
Are you talking about Keegan Kline?
Yeah, and TK, his father. Yeah. Do you want to answer first, Shay?
Sure. So I hope everybody listening is familiar with Delphi, but I have been more leaning towards it making sense to me that Richard Allen was some way connected to Keegan Kline and this possible ring, because it just makes sense with the girls being there. I'm trying to understand how a crime of opportunity really takes place, without maybe having some premeditated thought there. So that's kind of where I'm at, but you can go, Neys. On your thoughts.
So my thoughts are actually very different. I believe that KK was a totally different predator to the girls, and Richard Allen acted completely alone. So in regards to KK, the girls were being targeted by social media. And in terms of Richard Allen, it was a crime of opportunity because there's no way for over 5 years somebody would have name dropped the other person. I think there's no way that they could keep that secret for that long without throwing somebody under the bus to save themselves.
Or somebody telling somebody who tells somebody who tells somebody, you know?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always thought that maybe Keegan had lured the girls there, and that was just my thoughts. But I mean, I find it complex in itself, Nace, like from your theory, because then that means you have a coincidental two evil predators in the area, in my opinion.
And isn't that scary? Like, your
Yeah.
kids aren't safe online. Your kids aren't safe just going out wandering around without a predator.
Nope.
Like, either way, two separate evils preyed upon these girls.
Yeah. But I think one of the things I was a little disappointed about in the doc drop was not finding out more about the Keegan connection here.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
there's
they
nothing
are
mentioned.
open, right, to the possibility of someone else being involved.
I think they've always, left that door open because you don't want to close it. You never know.
Here's what makes me mad, though. From the beginning, they said that there isn't a threat to the community. All the way in the beginning, you remember that?
I think for Allie, they always say that just not to create mass panic, but in actuality, they really don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They aren't, Chica. They aren't. So I'm going to pull up the timeline first, so I guess we could get a little bit of the background, and then you want to move into the documents. Would that be best?
Sure.
Musicity Mom says, what about Ronald Logan? Do you think he is involved?
Personally, I don't. I think that man was an older man and he was out drinking and driving that day and he was caught and he wouldn't admit to it, and that's why he seems so suspicious.
Dustin says,
I would say my wilder theories did have him involved. But the more I kind of looked at the timing, once we were able to get these documents, he didn't really fit in my timeline well.
And that's what happens as we get more information.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin says, I'm actually heading to Indiana in a month, not far from Delphi. I grew up not far from there, small corn and sheep towns. The whole SP and trafficking vibe is real. Well, that's everywhere. Oh, thank you so much, Eddie, for the super sticker. Hi, Tony. That's everywhere, you know, and people like to not acknowledge it. And I understand because it's scary and you don't want to imagine, but this is a very real thing that is happening all over the country, all over in other countries too, right underneath our noses. So it's never, and I've even talked about that with the Idaho case, it's never that I'm not open to that as a possibility because it's a real thing and it's happening all of the time, but you just have to have a foundation for it if I'm going to lean into that. In my opinion, our Al might have found the girls later on the night they went missing.
That's possible. But it still comes to question, like, why would he be so scared at his age to report a crime? That's kind of peculiar, but with his background, it's possible.
Interesting.
Okay. So timeline is Sunday, February 12th, 2017. Liberty Germain, 14 years old, and Abigail Williams decide to have a sleepover at Liberty's house, knowing that they did not have school the next day at Liberty's grandparents' house. There was no school on Monday due to snow being built in the school schedule, but the winter being too mild that year for the snow days to get used. The girls typically did sleepover activities, and Liberty's older sister, Kelsey, joins in. Kelsey said they all had a movie night and ate pizza. Abigail called Abby and Liberty called Libby, stayed up late. They paint a sign that says chocolate and take videos of each other just being goofy. Monday, February 13th, 2017 at 10 a.m. approximately. The girls sleep in because they had been up late. Libby's father, Derek, makes them pancakes for breakfast. Derek leaves to go take photos for Becky's business. Libby's grandmother, Becky, makes a deal with the girls. She says if the girls help her with filing work, she'll give them some spending money, and maybe later on that day, she'll take them out shopping to go spend the money they had just earned. The girls happily helped with Becky's filing. We got a map. It says 12. A suspicious vehicle is parked at the abandoned CPS DCS building on the east side of County Road 300 North, next to the Hoosier Heartland Highway. Approximately 1 p.m., the girl asks Liberty's grandmother, Becky, if they could go to the Monon High Bridge Trail. Becky says yes, but only if they were able to arrange for a ride there and a ride back. The trail is considered to be a hangout for local teens their age. The girls were familiar with the Monon Bridge, and Libby would often visit the trail with her older sister to take photos. The girls then asked Liberty's older sister, Kelsey, to drive them. Kelsey says she can drive them there, but she cannot drive them back because she had plans to go to a friend's house and then work. Liberty called and asked her dad, Derek, if he could give them a ride back from the trail since Kelsey was unavailable. Derek agrees to be their ride back from the trail. He said he would pick them up once he was done taking photos for Becky's appraisal business. He estimated that he would be done with the photography work in Frankfurt in 2 hours. There was no time set for the girls to return to their meeting point. The plan was that Derek would call or text them on his drive when he was close to arriving, and they would return to the trailhead to be picked up. The approximate time of when they might expect him to be there would be 3 to 3:30 p.m. At 1:30 p.m., Kelsey picks up the girls to take them to the bridge. At 1:38 p.m., phone records indicate Kelsey's boyfriend calls her at 1:38 p.m. Kelsey remembers already being on the phone with him when she dropped the girls off, meaning the drop-off could have been any earlier than 1:38 p.m. Around this time, Libby calls and asks her dad, Derek, if he could give them a ride back. Derek agrees to be their ride back from the trail. Derek says he will pick them up once he is done taking photos. There was no set time. Derek said he would call or text them when arriving. At 1:40, Kelsey drops them off at an entrance at the Monon High Bridge Trail that is across from the Mears Farm and unofficial parking area. They were not dropped off at the Freedom Bridge parking area. Kelsey watches the girls walk until they got onto the trail. Kelsey does not notice anything unusual at the parking area before driving off. At an unknown time, Abby and Libby start walking down the trail. At an unknown time, Abby and Libby reach the beginning of the bridge. At 2:05, Liberty Jaman uploads to Snapchat a picture of the Monon Bridge, and that's the photo, the infamous photo that we all come to know. At 2:07, Libby uploads a picture of Abby walking on the bridge to Snapchat. Both of these snaps were posted directly to Liberty's story, meaning it was a post that was viewable by any one of Libby's added friends on Snapchat. Again, the infamous photo that we all know. At an unknown... Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, because at that point right there, that's where I somehow think that Keegan is maybe connected with Richard Allen. Like, having the location, knowing where he's at, you know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. And that's what makes social media so scary these days, that these predators stalk from a distance. They don't need to be creeping outside your window anymore. The social media pinpoints exactly where we are, who we're with at all times.
Yeah, I make my kids turn off their location services for apps.
No, so do I. But let's be real. It still locates. It absolutely still does. So at an unknown time, after the 2 Snapchat uploads, Liberty starts taking a video on her cell phone. Police say the girls most likely talk about stuff girls talk about in the recording. But later, the girls mention of a man they noticed behind them on the bridge. Sheriff Leansby says it appears the girls initially took pictures for fun, but later became uncomfortable and recorded the video as precaution. In the released video, it is believed that Libby's perspective is from southeastern side of the bridge, looking backwards towards the northwestern side of the bridge. At an unknown time, it has been theorized that the offender pulled a weapon or found a way to make the girls comply with his orders. According to an audio snippet from Libby's video recording, at some point the offender said, "Guys, down the hill." The path the girls and offender took after leaving the bridge is unknown. The arrows on map are purely an abstract approximation. They are not intended to be taken literally. In between the southeastern end of the bridge and the body disposal location, there is a shallow section of the creek. This shallow section varies between ankle to knee deep and could be waded through. At 3:11, Libby's grandmother, Becky, has said call records show Derek called Libby at 3:11 p.m., intending to tell them he was getting close and they should start heading back to be picked up. As a point of reference, Derek remembers he was just starting to drive over the Wilson Bridge when he makes this 3:11 call. No one answers the call. At 3:14, Derek pulls into the parking area and does not see the girls. Derek calls Liberty's phone, but no one picks up. At an unknown time, Derek knows it is not like Liberty to ignore his texts and calls, especially when she was expecting him. He parks his car and begins walking the trails to search for the girls. At 3:15, Derek reaches the point where the trails intersect, and he stops a man dressed in a flannel shirt who is approaching the intersection coming from the 501 trail. Derek asks the man with the flannel shirt, "Did you happen to see two girls up there?" And the man replied, "No, I did not, but there's a couple on the bridge." This man with the flannel shirt later becomes a key witness in this case, and he is among the first to give a witness account to law enforcement. Because flannel shirt guy did not see the girls on the 501 trail, Derek starts walking the other trail that led directly to the creek edge, called 505 trail. At 3:30, Derek does not see the girls on the 505, so he returns back up the trail intersection. Derek calls his mother, Becky, and tells her about not being able to contact or find the girls. Tara, Libby's aunt, was with Becky at the time. Both Becky and Tara start repeatedly calling and texting Libby. They receive no response. At an unknown time from the trail intersection, Derek walks down the trail leading to the Freedom Bridge. After not seeing the girls there, he turns around and heads back to the intersection, passing flannel shirt guy along his way. At 4 o'clock, Derek returns to his car. At this point, the family had been trying to get a hold of both Libby and Abby for half an hour with no response. Worry sets in. Becky and Tara decide to go to the trail to help. Tara drives straight to the trail while Becky makes a few calls before leaving. Becky calls her husband, which is Liberty's grandpa, Mike, who is at work in Lafayette, Indiana, and alerts him to the situation. Mike decides to take off work and drive to the trail to help the search. Becky calls Kelsey and alerts her to the situation. Kelsey says she'll call her work and delay her work shift by a few hours so she could help search. Kelsey leaves her boyfriend's house and starts driving to the trail. At an unknown time, Tara drives up to the parking area and Derek gets into her car. He explains to Tara the details of where and what he has searched of the trail so far. They briefly wait in the car for Becky and Mike to arrive so they can plan out who will search where and cover more ground. Reports of seeing Derek talking to someone in an unknown car in the parking area were at one time used to cast unfounded suspicion on him in online discussions. As Becky is about to leave for the trail, Libby's uncle Cody arrives. Becky informs him of what's going on and they were going to drive together. I'm just going to skip past. The girls are, the family's looking for the girls. At this point, the family is thinking the girls had somehow gotten hurt on the trail from a fall and Libby's phone may have been damaged. Becky and Cody arrive at the parking area, but there are no available parking spots, so they park in a ditch nearby. It should be noted that there were several non-family vehicles and people at the trail at this time. The family members, Mike, Becky, Derek, Tara, Cody, and Kelsey, meet up and start searching the area for the girls. So Kelsey and Cody cross the Monon High Bridge. They can see down a hill to the private driveway. They spend 20 to 30 minutes yelling the girl's name from there, but hear no response. From this location, Kelsey calls Libby's phone. She believes the call went through because she can hear it ring on her own phone speaker, but Kelsey does not hear it ringing in the area. Kelsey's personal belief was the trail area was quiet enough that if the phone had been near where she was standing, she would have heard it. It is possible that Libby's phone was set to silent or vibrate. As they walk, Becky calls the cell phone company and asks if they could ping Libby's phone to locate it. AT&T says they could not for legal reasons. Becky then asks AT&T about cell phone tracking apps like Find My iPhone or Find My Droid, which would allow them to track the phone. Because of a misunderstanding, Becky ends up downloading the app herself, and it takes a bit for it to become clear that because the phone that Libby had with her didn't have the app, that this method would not help. 5 o'clock, the time window given by law enforcement for when the offender drives his vehicle away from the parking lot ends. However, this time window should be taken as a very rough, loose estimate. The route the offender takes to get back to the vehicle is unknown. Whether the time when the offender returned to the vehicle is the same time that he drove it away is unknown. Okay, 5:20, the family calls the police and Libby and Abby are officially reported missing. 5:25, Becky has been unable to get a hold of Abby's mom. Mike calls Becky. He informs her the police requested for them both to drive to the police station. Becky starts driving to Anna's work. Anna calls her, having just gotten the chance to check her phone. Becky fills her in, and they decide to meet at the police station. Police arrive on scene and start searching quickly after the 5:20 call. Some family members use social media to ask for volunteers to help in the search. And here is the photo of that post. At 6 o'clock, a massive search begins. Having heard of the missing girls through social media, concerned residents show up. They coordinate a search. Meanwhile, Libby's sister, Kelsey, goes to the police station where they ask about where she remembers from dropping the girls off earlier. Kelsey also shows the police the 2 Snapchats posted to Libby's story. At some point, Mike returns to the house to gather all electronics and the relevant cell phone information so the police could start requesting AT&T to ping Libby's phone. 10:29, Indie Channel article reports the girls' cell phones are either dead or turned off. 11:59 p.m., a WFL article with an original published date of February 13th said dozens of deputies, Delphi police officers, and firefighters have been out searching. 12 a.m., the officially sanctioned search is called off by law enforcement due to darkness and a concern of volunteer safety. It's planned to resume in the morning. They said that there is no reason to suspect foul play or the girls to be in an immediate danger. The biggest concern is exposure for elements. Mike drives Becky home. So Tuesday, February 14th, I'm trying to jump through just to like the most important stuff. So 6 a.m., more on the scene reporting near the trail reported. Online folks are saying they are still out searching. 10:20, volunteers are gathering at the Delphi Municipal Building to search for Abby and Libby. 10:27, command center for volunteers in search of missing Carroll County girls set up at Delphi Fire Station. So 12:15, Libby's sister Kelsey went on the infamous indie podcast hosted by Joe Malillo and described the 2 search parties in the area during the discovery.
3 of us chose to cross the bridge to look underneath the bridge on the opposite side. And that's where I ended up hearing that we found the bodies.
When you were there, do you remember what you saw?
At High Bridge?
Right when they found the bodies?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, first off, I was standing on the trail that's right under the bridge, looking out into the woods, and somebody yelled up that they had found a shoe. And when they found the shoe, they had asked what kind of shoes the girls were wearing, and they yelled up the type of shoe that Libby was wearing. So I yelled down and told them that. Actually, then the person that had asked that had put up their phone and saw 2 deer in the ground moving. And so he was looking to see what it might be. And he saw 2 deer standing up there. And when he saw them, he moved the camera down. And that's when we found them.
Did you ever actually go and see them up close at that point?
At that point, I had not. I wanted to run towards them. But the girl that was with me in my group had held me down and told me that we don't know who they are yet. We don't know that it's them. We don't know what they look like. We don't know anything that's happening right now, so you can't go to them. And so she kind of held me and made sure that I stayed there.
Okay.
That symbolism is pretty amazing, though, like how they actually discovered the girls. It was like two deers that pointed them in the direction to find them.
Yeah, you guys want to get into that a little bit? How that happened?
Just the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah, I just think it's very symbolic because these two victims, they essentially helped find their killer. Like, if she wouldn't have taken that video of him, like, who knows how long this would have gone on for. Like, granted, it took 5 years, and that's 5 years too long. But without that video, like, I'm sure it would have been even longer. And, like, these girls have done so much, even from beyond the grave, like taking down a pedo ring with Kyle Klein and having their murder essentially filmed on video, like, is pretty amazing how these girls that were so short-lived had actually done so much.
Absolutely. And as you find out more about how, like, I mean, the theories about them descending and where they're found and where they go, it seems to me like there's a struggle and a phone was strategically thrown back, like, to show evidence. Like, they were smart, they were best friends until the end, and it shows. Like, they would not leave each other. And Kelsey, Libby's older sister, she's also a huge advocate in the community. Definitely, you recommend you could follow her on Twitter too. She ended up changing her major and going in to work with victims and families, and it's been very pivotal in the family's life, not only losing their girls but their trajectory forward. And they have wonderful families, by the way. I just adore them.
Yeah, I believe the families of the victim, like, with everything that they've endured and persevered through, they've shown so much grace. They've had trust in the judicial system and with the officers that they've been with. Like, they even say how special these officers were. Like, today was the day. Like, it was a mantra for them. And thankfully they got to say it.
Absolutely. And I've always had a lot of respect for the Indiana State Police, the Delphi, LE. I think that they've done, I mean, even some of their speeches. I mean, the Indiana State Police chief, he makes me cry whenever I watch him in his press conferences. But they definitely kept everything close to the chest. Now, I did, we will go over the documents, and there's some things I'm kind of a little bit like, whoa, how some stuff was overlooked. But I still think that they had integrity to be able to want to get the person who did this behind bars. And I think for a lot of people who aren't familiar with Delphi, is that it is a small, like, rural town. So going to the park and on the trails is not something that is uncommon. And apparently, like, this bridge is very historic. And Kelsey talks about, like, in some of, like, podcasts that she's done, that, like, they would, dare each other to go across it. And it was just kind of the thing that kids did. And on this day, the kids were out of school and they went out for an adventure. And it was only 2 hours. So if you caught that timeline, just 2 hours from being dropped off to being missing.
Yep. How quick it happens. It's like it's you would think something like that has to be planned, but it's not. It's that idea of that butterfly effect, that if one tiny thing was changed, that it would all be different. And Dennis, he can change his plea to guilty. He still can. Riddler says, usually you can change your plea until the jury has reached a verdict. So at 2:00, the press conference was held. They announced that 2 bodies had been found, but they do not confirm the identities of the bodies as Abby and Libby. They said search efforts will now be scaled back. They said the matter is now being investigated as a crime scene and that they suspect foul play. When asked by a reporter, why do you believe there is foul play? Kim Riley responded, just the way the bodies were found. That's all I can say at this point. And when asked, were they in water? He responded, they were on the edge of the water from what I understand. That's about the best I can tell you. Wednesday, autopsies began. Autopsies were completed. They had a meeting to discuss the findings. And then they had a news conference confirming that the bodies were found on Tuesday are those of Liberty and Abigail. They say the case is being investigated as a double homicide.
The evidence tab is pretty good too, because it has quite a bit of stuff on it. But I mean, it's definitely a lot of thick brush trees, and the steep of the hill that they went down is pretty. I mean, I just said steep, it is pretty steep.
I'm clicking evidence.
Did you go from the top and do it?
Okay. Now, wait, no.
There you go.
Evidence, click here. I keep doing it. It keeps bringing me up.
Scroll down a little bit. Just a little. Okay, and then there's here. It says evidence. Click the evidence tab.
I do. It keeps bringing me up.
Oh,
okay. There we go. I don't have patience, man. All right. So on April 22nd, a sketch of the person believed to be the attacker was released, and detailing a new direction was being taken in the investigation. The sketch replaces an older sketch that was provided on July 17th. The previous sketch was a composite sketch. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the sketches.
Yeah.
So this to the right was the first sketch, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And then to the left, which is it really does depict like very different people, it seems like. Very, very different people.
It does. And it's so creepy because like later on, like as they identify Richard Allen as the primary suspect, and you see like pictures of him and his wife in a bar, and right behind him is like the wanted picture in the sketch, it's like makes you wonder, like, did anybody ever not think it was him? But in some of my research that like I've done, it looks like he really did kind of change his appearance over the years, fluctuate weight and different things like that.
That was one thing too, if you think about human behavior and the amount of time he was hiding in plain sight, like Ellie said, like his appearance changed drastically. Like 1 year to the next, he almost looked unrecognizable.
But they did clarify that the sketches of 2 different people. They are not the same person. The person depicted in the original sketch is not presently a person of interest. So it was like, what the heck? And then the person in the second is described as having a youthful appearance, but could fall in the age range from 20s to late 30s. So that's weird, right? And then why switch focus to another? Knowing that the sketches are 2 different people brings up the question, why? And Libby's sister, Kelsey, responded on Twitter related to the questions. Kelsey said that a recent development is what I understand. They had created several sketches at the time. They believed the other one was more credible. People are saying this is shoddy work. Kelsey says there was a reason for it. Thankful we have it now.
Yeah, they did get a lot of different tips of who, it could be. There's been several different people identified that ended up having, criminal records and serving for different issues other than not connected to this crime. So it's been an interesting ride on this case, to say the least. But one of the things I found most interesting is like in the press conference, he says like, you're probably here. The Indiana State Police said you're probably here hiding in plain sight. And I just remember like going back through that footage, and I could I can get the picture for you, but it's you actually see a picture that the media took of the audience, and Richard is sitting in a chair and his wife and daughter are standing right next to him. So he was in those press conferences.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very creepy.
Like, isn't that ballsy?
That
Mm.
is, yep. But we hear about that a lot. But still, it's like, man, that's crazy.
I know, it's disturbing.
It is. So then in the April press release, it says, we also believe that this person is from Delphi currently or has previously lived here and visits Delphi at a regular basis or works here. We believe this person is currently between the age range of 18 and 40, but might appear younger than his true age, which that was accurate. Press release.
That was completely accurate. And like, how do they come to that conclusion?
I don't know.
Like, that's just mind blowing how accurate they were with this.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that's what I didn't know either. So then they say today a new sketch of the suspect appearing to be in his mid-20s to mid-30s. The person in the sketch released in April is described as having a youthful appearance, but could fall in the age range from his 20 to late 30s. He is described as a white male between 5'6" and 5'10", weighing between 180 and 220 pounds with reddish brown hair. So on February 13th, Libby took a video with audio that captured a man on the Mon and High Bridge approaching them. And that we found out from the current documents, which I'm going to pull up next, from our, 42 seconds in length?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what else it had on there.
I sent a picture to our messenger group of the presser picture, but
Okay.
I have some side-by-sides proving that it's his wife and daughter, but I don't want to go through that. I don't want to do that to them.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to see that, you can.
Then they said this young lady is a hero. There's no doubt. To have enough presence of mind to activate that video system on her cell phone to record what we believe is criminal behavior that's about to occur. The recording was longer than what has been released. Police won't release any more to protect the integrity of the investigation, but they've seen the video and likely won't be able to stop thinking about it. They were asked, is the attack itself on the recording? And they said no.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
So then a longer version of the clip is released with the voice saying guys down the hill. Whether guys were directly preceded the down the hill or if some audio of the girls talking was removed is a subject of debate online. They said that they have more audio from Libby's phone, which was found with the girls at the crime scene. Police say the girls mostly talk about stuff girls talk about in the recording, but they also mention the man. They go through the GPS data that I'm scrolling. So the cell phone has been pinging around town, and here there is a cell phone tower, but the ping was last noted around 5 to 6 hours ago, and the phone is now dead. I saw the text where they got delivered, but they never got read. So what an eerie bridge, too. I'm sorry, but that bridge was sketch and a liability.
Yeah.
I would not have been on that bridge at all. Like, that is just like, with being afraid of heights, I just don't know how anybody would walk across that.
There
It's
were
been
boards
redone,
missing. Look at that.
It's been redone since then. Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Oh, here, if you go up a little bit. See, okay, go back to the map. It has a little toggle where you can move it between like that map and the aerial view. It's kind of interesting to see it from that side. See the little inside the map, there you go. So you can go like both ways. You see where that little arrow is? Oh God.
She's not seen it, Shay. She's not seen it at all.
Okay. Do you see
The
where the
guy?
maps connect? You see where the maps
Yeah.
connect? And there's a little arrow. There you go.
Look at me.
She found
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and it kind of this like points out like where they entered the bridge, and it's interesting. So
And it says the body location, the exact body disposal location has never been released. Whether the homicide location and the body disposal location are the same is unknown. All that is known publicly is the initial site of the encounter is not the same location as the body disposal site. Law enforcement has said that the disposal site was a half mile from the end of the bridge and across the Deer Creek. It is possible to get a rough estimate of where the bodies were based off of placement of crime scene tape in the photos. Ugh. So freaking sad.
yeah.
He saw something. He could not figure out what it was. There were 2 deer standing up there. As he looked up to see what it was, that is when he saw them, said Libby's grandma, Becky Patty. They were lying in the grass between a group of trees deep in the woods. The bodies were found on private property about 50 feet from the shore of Deer Creek. So this is where the crime scene tapes, where they were found. Ugh.
And that brings in the other character we were talking about earlier, Ron Logan, who has since passed.
Yeah, that was his private property they were found on.
And he had like a shed there that was like that they searched through and didn't find anything. So there are a lot of theories of once Keegan Kline came into play, that was Ron Logan part of this? Was this some kind of weird PEDO ring or an SNUFF film thing? I mean, just awful things were coming to mind, like your worst nightmares.
Yeah. Ugh, they must have been terrified. So this is them looking for evidence. So
Fire 15 going through. Send it. Found an item of interest under the railroad bridge. Copy that. Go ahead and describe it to me. Girls' undergarments. Good copy. Thank you. Stand by.
So this is girls' undergarments being found.
2 Fire 15. Go ahead. They're on their way with evidence back, so just stand by there. They're on their way. They're coming through the water, by the way. There's at least 2 pieces of evidence so far. So you found more? What's the second thing you found? Because I'm only sending 1 evidence back. I have a cigarette butt in the water that is less than 2 or 3 days old.
So fresh cigarette butts in the water. And it says girls' clothing in Deer Creek east of the bridge, and knew full well that the girls were found very nearby. Somebody yelled up that they had found a shoe, and when they had found the shoe, they had asked what kind of shoes the girls were wearing, and they yelled out the type of shoe that Libby was wearing. So I yelled down and told them that. A set of footprints are what led volunteers to the area that the bodies were found. So the autopsy has been sealed, completely sealed. There are supposed text messages detailing the manner of how they were found, allegedly sent by a family member's ex-boyfriend. However, it is easy to fake screenshots, and it is easy to photograph a fake screenshot displayed on a phone. The supposed screenshot of text messages cannot be verified in any way and will be disregarded by this website. They don't want to publicly disclose the details, so the website's going to honor that. Law enforcement has recovered DNA from the crime scene. The quality of DNA is unknown.
That always stood out to me because, like, what does that say to you, unknown DNA?
Say that again.
I said that's always stood out to me, like the verbiage on that. Like, what does that mean to you, unknown DNA?
Well, what type of DNA? Like the quality, is it strong? Is it touch DNA? Is it semen? Is it what is it? What kind of DNA is it? It's unknown, at least to us.
Yeah. I mean, we get some answers out of this document drop, but not everything. And the document drop that came in yesterday was due to the Murder Sheets podcast, who's been covering this for a long time. They filed with the judge for them to release it because of the claims that the defense is making about Richard Allen's confession could be false because of under the conditions and mental state he's in. And they're saying, well, to receive a fair trial, then we need to see the information. So
But that makes me go back to, like, when people falsely confess. Usually that's in a state of duress, like in the middle of interrogation, not just when you're living your life in jail.
And that's what I think the public was thinking happened until this came out, and you're like, oh my goodness, it was on the confession was on a jail phone call.
A phone call with his wife and his mother, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was very different in the timing. But one thing that I did find, interesting kind of as like everything unfolds here is I guess just that the community that was there, I feel like a lot of them have been very tight-lipped and not like sharing details about, the search and what was found. And then, like, I think that's great. There was something that came out like earlier this year that apparently there was a source that sent to several YouTube creators what they're saying is photo of some of this evidence and finding these articles. But it's not been confirmed by law enforcement, and there a lot of the YouTube creators that they had that supposedly the source had reached out to declined to share them because it's just not right and it's not validated. So if you guys hear anything about that, there's none of that's been confirmed or shared. So that was something that kind of stirred about that caused a little bit of panic earlier in the year. But overall, like, the community wasn't sharing any additional information into their search.
I think that shows, like, how much the girls were respected in the community and how devastating this was, because it was such a safe place before this happened. Like, there wasn't anything of this caliber before.
Yes, and the community supported the family in wanting to have everything sealed and the gag order, and the media was pushing against it.
Even Richard Allen supported the family by giving them free photos of their children. Sorry, that was sarcastic.
Creepy. No, yeah, that's the creepy part. And then, a weirder thing is, like, what, a year later, he took pictures, like senior graduation pictures of his daughter on this bridge. So it's so creepy.
I thought that was debunked, though, that because his daughter graduated, like, I think before the murders took place.
No, it was after.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to dig too much into her life, but I thought it was before.
No, I don't think so.
Let's jump to those documents.
Do you want to show that picture of him at the presser real quick?
Sure.
Because that one's kind of cool, but yeah. So for many years, they've been searching for him.
Is he? Wait, where is he?
He's in the red shirt sitting down.
There's an arrow, Melissa.
But that's not in a red shirt sitting down.
Hold on. Yeah, he's in a red shirt sitting down in the forefront of the camera.
The arrow's not pointing to him. No.
The arrow is pointing to one of the officers, like, saying, like, do you think he's looking at him?
Is that him?
That's him.
That doesn't look like him.
It is him. It's him. I promise you. I've done the side-by-side profiles of his family near him.
All right, I'm gonna cut his wife and daughter out,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna pull up him.
And I'm not the only one to have seen this as well. Like since then, a lot of people have been like, "Oh my god, that's him." Because
That doesn't look like him.
But if he has fluctuated a lot in different weights, like if before when his
Touche.
wife's Facebook was up, you could see throughout those years in this time frame, he was that size. And if you look at the man crossing the bridge, he's a bigger guy.
And remember, this was when he was in the free world and he was allowed to drink and eat fast food and stuff along that lines. Like, he really did change his appearance lots.
So right there, the red shirt, that's him.
So his family is standing behind him, guys, but I cropped it out because I don't want to put his family out there. But
yeah, his hands folded on his chest.
On his belly.
But
well, I was being polite.
the ones I didn't want to share were like where there is a picture of him like and his wife like kissing their daughter like on their wedding day, and the same side profile, the ears, the nose, everything.
Melissa really wants the link later.
Okay. Danielle says that's not him. Dun, dun, dun. I don't think it looks anything like him, but granted, people can fluctuate, and they do look extremely different.
It's the eyes. Like you have to.
I think it looks like him.
I don't know, man.
I'll send you my other pictures I have, but I wouldn't put on the screen unless we could find something different way to show it. But to me, it looks just like him. And there's been a lot of different people that have said that too that I don't converse with, so I don't think I'm crazy in thinking it. But this is one of the pressers.
What? Well, who's that arrow pointing to?
So one of the state police that they were people I was sleeping with before say that like it looks like he was looking at him.
Oh,
because it was like it was just like a theorizing thing.
Was this the same presser when they said, "I know he's here and hiding in plain sight"?
It may
like
be,
that would be even more creepy.
It may be.
Is it possible the wife and daughter were there, the one standing in the back that I cut out, and that ain't him?
They're standing close to him, like they're with him, in my opinion.
Everyone's standing close. Look at everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's okay.
I still think it's him.
I think it's him.
I wish it was more of like a head-on shot. But we do see that goatee area.
It's the eyes. That. He's got like the eye shape, the side profile.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the other one so you can just kind of take a look. But
yeah,
like
definitely.
His wife's like Facebook is like I think taken down or privated.
Oh,
like
I'm sure
all this stuff was grabbed like
immediately
right when it was released. Yeah.
I like the grandpa in the overalls. I'm digging that outfit. I think he's got a little ponytail in the back there. Oh no! I got to drop the link for Neys again. She booted down. Neys yeeted herself. But do you see? I love that outfit. Look at that little outfit. He got the little phone in his back pocket in the like in the overalls. I loved overalls.
My dad wears them when he's on the ranch.
Dude, overalls are the bomb.
Oh my gosh. I used to wear them back like when like the Tommy Hilfiger ones were popular, like junior high.
The ones with the shorts too, you know, like the short overalls.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You just would leave one strap unhooked because you were a thug. One off the shoulder, like, yeah, baby.
Hell yeah.
Harlot, it's supposed to be the guy in the forefront with his hands crossed over his tummy. Riddler says, I still wear overalls. What happened last year? I knew I liked you, Riddler. Here, Neys. Drop the link. Yeah, it makes sense he would be there, hippie chick. Now that we know that he lived there, he worked there, and it makes sense. Damn, I just wish it was like a better angle because people listen. Okay, let me put it this way: have you ever turned on your FaceTime laying down and you get the camera angle of underneath your chin, and you're like, "Holy fuck! Why do I look like a thumb?" Like, different, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, do I really look like that? Like. Different angles and different way, it can make you look very, very different.
My bad.
You're okay. But there have been plenty of times where I've like flipped my camera phone on and I'm like, holy shit. Oh no, I literally look like a thumb from this angle.
Oh my god.
Okay. Let me. So should I pull up from the Google Drive, you think?
I mean, it's up to you, wherever you want to start. Pressure's on.
So you guys want to start with the. Where'd my paper go?
It's 118 files, guys. It's so much, and there's like a lot of documents that are repetitious. So it definitely takes some thumbing around.
00263 objection 002.
So Richard Allen was arrested in October, and he's actually being held in not a jail but a prison. So that's been something that's like been a high point of contest for a lot of people, is like why he's in that type of security. But I think that they fear his safety. Like every time he's moving around in court or anywhere, he has on like the full vest and whatnot. Metal jacket vest or whatever.
Right. This is different from a computer standpoint.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Okay, hold on. Give me a second.
Okie dokie. I can get on mine and share if you want.
Girl, do it.
Oh Lord.
Hi,
Okay.
Lady V. Hey, Shaq.
Okay.
I'm not used to someone else sharing their screen.
All right. Hold on a second. Let me drop down real quick and get on my laptop and connect because my AirPods are connected to it.
Okay.
Okay, so if you don't mind dropping the link, I'll grab it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, 87 says, I don't know what the heck's going on. I'm just here for the thumb. My face is the thumb. Neys, I was saying how it like you're laying down and you ever like flip the FaceTime camera on and you just get that angle from underneath your chin and it's like, holy shit. Do I really look like that? Oh my God. I look like a thumb from some angles. It's horrible. See, I wish we got a little bit more details on the murders themselves. Like,
I don't think anything like that will be revealed until there's a hearing.
I know.
Like, they've handled this case with so much grace and respect for the family that, and I bet you the reason why they do that is probably because of the guilty conscience, because of RA putting himself there back in 2017, and there was a clerical error as to why he wasn't interviewed by actual Ellie earlier.
Can you get into that a little bit? What happened with that?
Okay, so back in 2017, after the murders, they recruited a lot of help. And they actually had a conservation officer who was talking to people as well. And Richard Allen did come forward and say he was on the trail that day.
Wow.
And in one of the documents, you'll actually read the conservation officer's notes saying why he thinks Richard Allen should be followed up on. but for some reason it was misplaced or whatever. And it wasn't until September of 2022 that Ali went back into this case, started from the beginning, and found this tip of Richard Allen being there that day. And that's when they investigated him again and sparked everything, because he was questioned again September 13th. And they actually had everything to go through his home as well.
Wow, isn't that
on the 13th? Yeah,
he slipped through the cracks. You're right,
he
Shaq.
absolutely did.
And there's been so many instances where that happens.
Yeah.
Wow, man. And so they didn't have him in mind at all. They didn't even know he was there before that.
No.
So when they did speak out at the press conference and said, you might even be in this room, they didn't have Richard Allen
Right.
in mind.
Like, isn't that like how uncanny it was for them to actually know the answers before they were given the answers?
Yep.
Like, that's why it always intrigues me so much, like, behavior and stuff like that when it comes to people, because, like, how in the heck were they spot on about everything?
Yeah. They have people whose literal sole jobs is to look at a crime scene or a situation and be able to determine what type of person would be able to commit this crime. Like, what would their personality, what's their MO, what would they be like? And it's pretty damn amazing how spot on they could be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Hear it all the time on true crime dramas. Yeah. It's so eerie. Hey, babe.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I think the link you were dropping me was wrong.
Oh no, what link was I dropping?
I don't know. I had to go grab it like off my phone, send it to Messenger, and it was just like a phone deal.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Where did I send you?
I don't know.
I send you back to the 90s to get a pair of overalls.
I know, man. Okay.
And I do believe that hippie chick, a new set of eyes. Yep. Because when you're looking at something for too long, the same way that if you say a word over and over and over again, it starts to lose its meaning, right? The word starts to sound funny and weird and different. And you need to step back and sometimes have a new set of eyes look at things.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, but I'm going to be careful here because one thing that they did not do is redact his social, and that's been very highly contested. So
they didn't redact his social?
No, they did not. Which one am I sharing? Okay.
I'm still trying to like, is that him?
Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay. Is it big enough or you want me to make it bigger?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, no. Shit.
Oh, no.
No. What did I do?
All that work.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, no.
There she goes.
You had one job, Shen.
One damn job, man.
That's what I said, Kick Save. It looks like Willie Nelson, but I dig it. I love that outfit. He looks awesome. He got some tattoos on his forearm. I love that guy's outfit. He's got that hat. He's got the little pony.
Oh my god.
Phone in his back pocket.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I can read it.
Sure.
So we're going to read over one of the motions filed because I feel like this is a good segue into where we just kind of left off of the backstory on the case. So now this file right here had a lot of redactions previously, so this is one of the big things that came out that people were getting more information on. So says that on February 14, 2017, victim 1 and victim 2 were found deceased in the woods approximately 0.2 miles northeast of the Monon High Bridge in Carroll County. Their bodies were located on the north side of the Deer Creek. At the time, the Monon High Bridge Trail was an approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is an abandoned railroad trestle approximately 0.25 miles long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley on the southeast end of the trail. Approximately 0.7 miles northwest on the trail from the northwestern edge of the Monon High Bridge is the Freedom Bridge, which is a pedestrian bridge spanning State Road 25. Approximately 350 feet west of Freedom Bridge was a former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25, also known as County Road 300 North. The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is in a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies were and are located in Carroll County, Indiana. Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of the video at the Hoosier Harbor store, investigators believe victim 1 and victim 2 were dropped off across from the Mears Farm at 1:49 p.m. on February 13, 2017 by Kelsey German. The Mears Farm is located on the north side of County Road North near an entrance of the trails. A video from victim 2's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., victim 1 and victim 2 encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. The male ordered the guys down the hill. No witness saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on victim 2's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered on February 14, 2017. The video recovered from victim 2's phone shows victim 1 walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches victim 1 and 2, one of the victims mentions gun. So that was something new. I think, Nisa, did you already bring that up, that we were getting additional clarification on?
No, I hadn't yet.
Okay, so
And hey, Kasha.
So hearing the gun part was something new that came out of it. We heard that there was like extended audio, so that was shared there. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the guys down the hill. The girls then begin to proceed down the hill, and the video ends. A still photograph taken from the video and the guys down the hill audio was subsequently released to the public to assist investigators in identifying the male. Victim 1 and victim 2's deaths were ruled as homicide. The clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to victim 1 and victim 2. South of where their bodies were located, there was also a .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from victim 2's body, between victim 1 and victim 2's bodies.
One sec, Shay.
Mhm.
But remember, there was speculation of souvenirs being taken from the scene, which was a sock and a pair of underwear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe those haven't been found still to this day.
Yeah, I don't think that they have either. So the round was unspent and had extraction marks on it. Interviews were conducted. So this is the part that we've been getting a little bit more information on. So the interviews were conducted with 3 juveniles, RV, BW, and AS. They advised they were on the Monon High Bridge Trail on February 13, 2017. They advised they were walking on the trail toward Freedom Bridge to go home when they encountered a male walking from Freedom Bridge towards the Monon High Bridge. AS described the male as kind of creepy and advised he was wearing like blue jeans, a like really light blue jacket, and his hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face. She advised the jacket was a duck canvas type jacket. RV advised she said hi to the male, but he just glared at them. She recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. She described him as not very tall with the bigger build. She said he was not bigger than 5'10". RV advised he was wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. She stated he had his hands in his pockets. So you can see there's a little bit differences of their description of what he's wearing from blues to blacks.
Yeah, their recollection is very different from each other.
Right. BW showed investigators photos she took on her phone while she was on the trail that day. The photographs included a photo of the Monon High Bridge taken at 12:43 p.m. and another one taken at 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. BW advised after she took the photo of the bench, they started walking back toward Freedom Bridge. She advised that was when they encountered the man who matched the description of the photograph taken from victim two's video. BW described the man she encountered on the trail as wearing a blue or black windbreaker jacket. She advised the jacket had a collar and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath his jacket. She advised he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. She advised her head came up to approximately his shoulder. She advised RV said hi to the man and that he had said nothing back. She stated he was walking with a purpose. He knew where he was going. She stated he had his hands in his pocket and kept his head down. She advised she did not get a good look at his face, but believed him to be a white male. The girls advised after encountering the male, they continued their walk across Freedom Bridge and the old railroad bridge over Old State Road 25. So this is a part where, like, I think Neys and I were discussing, like, you know, why pick, Abby and Libby? And I think, Neys, you were saying, well, it's only two of them, not three, like in
Yeah.
this instance of these three group of girls. And kind of interesting, he just had no interest in them at all. So, which makes
But
me
it's
wonder.
Mm-hmm.
listening to his demeanor when it came to those three girls, like even they were suspicious of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like his hands down, he seemed like he was perpetuating evil. Like that's just so creepy.
It is. It is really creepy. Investigators spoke. Okay. Oh, wow. This one's a good one. Investigators spoke with Betsy Blair, who advised she. No, sorry, not this one. Who advised she was on the trails on February 13th, 2017. Video from the Hoosier Harbor store captured Betsy's vehicle traveling eastbound at 1:46 p.m. toward the entrance across from the Mears farm. Betsy advised she saw four juvenile females walking on the bridge over Old State Road 25 as she was driving underneath on her way to park. Betsy advised there was no other cars parked across from the Mears farm when she parked. She advised she walked to the Monon High Bridge, observed a male matching the one from victim two's video. She described the male she saw as a white male wearing blue jeans, blue jean jacket. She advised he was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet from her. She advised she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk. Approximately halfway between the bridge and the parking area across from Mears Farm, she passed two girls walking toward Monon High Bridge. I'm just going to go over this she advised, guys. Sorry. She believed the girls were victim one and victim two. Video from the Hoosier Harbor store shows at 1:49 p.m. a white car matching Kelsey German's vehicle traveling away from the entrance across from Mears Farm. So that's when the girls were dropped off. Betsy advised she finished her walk and saw no other adults other than the male on the bridge. Her vehicle is seen on Hoosier Harbor store video at 2:14 p.m., leaving westbound from the trails. Betsy advised when she was leaving, she noticed a vehicle parked in an odd manner at the old Child Protective Service building. So I think it was in some of the evidence files that we were showing earlier, but it's an old CPS building that was pretty much abandoned and not in use and has since been torn down. She said it was not odd for vehicles to be parked there, but she noticed it was odd because the manner it was parked backed in near the building. So I'm assuming maybe to appear to hide the license plate. I don't know, or get out quick. Investigators
Yeah, I
received,
agree. Both, honestly.
yeah. Investigators received a tip from Terry Wilson in which he stated he was on his way to Delphi on State Road 25 around 2:10 p.m. He observed a purple PT Cruiser or a small SUV type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. He stated it appeared as though it was backed in to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. There you go. Betsy and Terry both drew diagrams for where they saw the vehicle. It generally matched the same area the vehicle was parked and the manner in which it was parked. Wesley McWhorter advised he remembered seeing a small dark colored car parked at that building. He described it almost as being like a smart car. McWhorter's vehicle is seen leaving at 2:28 p.m. This is the one that I think is very jaw-dropping. So this is the timing. Investigators spoke with Sarah Carbaugh, who stated that she was traveling east on, oh, shoot, sorry, was traveling east on 300 North on February 13th, 2022, and observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North, away from Monon High Bridge. Sarah advised that the male subject was wearing a blue colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. So she saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how creepy is that too? That would have been right after. What time did she say that was at again?
She said that about 3:57 p.m.
Okay. And at 3:15 is when the father came in and tried calling the phone and there was no answer.
Yep.
Yep. So this is all happens really quickly. Um, so with that, sorry, with that being said, Sarah advised that the male subject was wearing a blue colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he got into a fight. Investigators were able to determine from watching the video from the Hoosier Harbor store that Sarah Carbaugh was traveling on CR 300 North at approximately 3:57 p.m. Through interviews, electronic data, photographs, and video from the Hoosier Harbor store, investigators determined that there were other people on the trail that day after 2:13 p.m. Those people were interviewed, and none of those individuals encountered the male subject referenced above, witnessed by the juvenile girls Betsy Blair, Sarah Carbaugh. Further, none of those individuals witnessed victims 1 and 2. Investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen in 2017. The narrative stated Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and I got that right,
1:30
3:30.
and 3:30, yeah.
Yeah, my military time, I'm off. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated
what?
a stock, like trading stocks,
Oh, okay.
like a stock ticker. As he walked, he stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trail head, however, did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or videos. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following and list out potential follow up on the information. Who were the 3 girls walking in the area of Freedom Bridge? Investigators believe Mr. Allen was referring to the former CPS building, as there was not a Farm Bureau building in the area, nor had there been. Investigators believe the females he saw included RB, BW, and AS due to the time they were leaving the trail, the time he reported getting to the trail, and the descriptions of the 3 females he gave. Investigators discovered Richard Allen owned 2 vehicles in 2017, a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harbor Store video at 1:27 p.m. traveling westbound on County Road 300 North in front of Hoosier Harbor Store, which coincided with his statement that he arrived around 1:30 p.m. at the trails. Investigators note witnesses described the vehicle parked at the former CPS building as a PT Cruiser, small SUV, smart car. Those descriptions are similar to the Ford Focus. On October 13, 2022, Richard Allen was interviewed again by investigators. So this is interesting. Like, I never got to hear all of this yet, so I thought this was interesting. But he advised he was on the trails that day. He stated he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of Freedom Bridge and that he went on to Monon High Bridge. Richard Allen further stated he went onto Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. Later in his fish, yeah.
It's a high bridge to watch the fish from.
Come on, Melissa. Can't you see fish from that high up in the air? Come
I was like,
on.
I don't know, man.
Like, you
Right.
can just tell by his answers, like, he's reaching. He's reaching. Like, even when they found the bullet and confronted him about the bullet, he was reaching. Like, oh.
Yeah. He stated that he walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then left. He stated he parked his car on the side of an old building, told investigators he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. So he pretty much describes
The
himself.
description.
He
I know.
absolutely described himself down to a T. Like, that makes me think in a way, like, did he want to get caught?
Well,
I don't know.
the video had been released already.
The video was released, yeah. Because this is LE investigating him in September, like September 13th of 2022.
Oh
Like, he described himself to a T, matching the bridge guy.
How would you even remember what you were wearing? That, you know what I mean?
Because he killed somebody, so it was a big day for him.
But that's what I'm saying. If you didn't.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
exactly.
even if you asked me what I was wearing a week ago on a specific day, I don't fucking know.
Oh, I know. It's just nuts.
But this is 5 years later. He describes himself to a T to the bridge guy. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's disturbing to me.
Amber.
So he said he was watching fish. It says later in a statement he walked out to the first platform on the bridge. He stated he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then left. He stated he parked his car in the side of an old building. He told investigators that he was wearing the blue jeans, blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may be wearing some type of head covering. He further claimed he saw no one else except for those girls. So Richard Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, also spoke to investigators. So I thought this was interesting too. She confirmed that Richard did have guns and knives at the residence. She also stated that Richard still owns a blue Carhartt jacket. On October 13, 2022, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence. So everybody was thinking that he was getting this search warrant because of some thing about stealing from a neighbor. Yeah, that's
stealing from a neighbor, and that was their in, was the rumor that was going around when this was all transpiring back in September of last year.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
what rumor?
There was a rumor that he had stolen a neighbor's property and that neighbor called the police, and that he was doing weird burning in the back of his house, and then the police had a search warrant. It just was really odd. And so a lot of people were like, how can you get him on this? There had to be more. So This is just a lot more telling now that you hear that the conservation officer overlooked that tip, that now they're putting all this together. So I really have a lot of admiration for the Indiana State Police and Delphi community. I think that, that one overlook of that conservation officer was so critical in this puzzle piece.
And the fact that they just went back and started from the beginning again.
Yeah.
Even after 5 years and all their assumptions and presumptions, and as far as they got, like, taking down KK and still feeling that, no, this isn't enough, they went back to the beginning and started the investigation from square one again. And that's how they got him.
Yeah. So on October 13th, 2022, investigators executed a search warrant of Richard Allen's residence at North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Carroll County, Indiana. Among other items, officers located jackets, boots, knives, and firearms, including a 6-Sauer model P226 .40 caliber pistol with serial number blah blah blah. Between October 14th, 2022 and October 19th, the Indiana State Police Laboratory performed an analysis on Allen's SIG. The laboratory performed a physical examination and classification of the firearm function test, barrel and overall length measurement, test firing, ammunition component characterization, microscopic comparison, and NIBIN. The laboratory determined the unspent round located within 2 feet of victim 2's body had been cycled through Richard Allen's SIG. The laboratory remarked an identification opinion is reached when the evidence exhibits an agreement of class characteristics and a sufficient agreement of individual marks. Sufficient agreement is related to the significant duplication of random striated impressed marks as evidenced by the correspondence of the pattern that's on the bullet. I'm going to keep going. So investigators then ran the firearm and found the firearm was purchased by Richard Allen in 2001. He voluntarily came to the Indiana State Police post on October 26. He spoke with the investigators and stated he never allowed anyone to use or borrow it. When asked about the unspent bullet, he did not have an explanation of why the bullet was found between the bodies of victim 1 and victim 2. He again admitted that he...
Like, with that alone, he pretty much admitted it. Like, how else can you have an explanation for a bullet that was out of your gun to be at the crime scene?
Yeah, I mean, but if you're talking too much, it can get you more trouble. So I don't know. I mean, it almost sounds like to me like, did he just give in? I don't know.
It's almost like he gave up. He gave up his clothing for that day. He's like, yeah, it's my gun. It hasn't gone anywhere. Like, all the evidence directly points to him, and there's nothing. So I don't understand mentally why he pleads not guilty, because he has to know that all this evidence is stacked up against him.
Right. I'm almost done with this one, so I'm going to push through. He again admitted that he was on the trail, but denied knowing victim 1 or victim 2 and denied any involvement in their murders. So Carroll County Sheriff's Department Detective Tony Liggett has been part of the investigation since it started in 2017. He's had an opportunity to review and examine evidence gathered in this investigation. Detective Liggett, along with other investigators, believe the evidence gathered shows that Richard Allen is the male subject on the video from victim 2's phone who forced the victims down the hill. Further, that the victims were forced down the hill by Richard Allen and led to the location where they were murdered. Through the statements and photographs of the juvenile females, it just kind of goes back over their encounter of him. Sorry, I don't want to be so redundant on this. So again, he's within the same vicinity. He's parked over there by the CPS building. And then it goes on to state that sorry, guys, 1 second. Okay, so investigators believe Richard Allen was not seen on the trail after 2:13 p.m. because he was in the woods with victim 1 and victim 2. An unspent .40 caliber round between the bodies of victim 1 and victim 2 was forensically determined to have been cycled through Richard Allen's SIG that we've already went over. It was found at his residence, and he admitted to owning it. Investigators were able to determine that he owned that since 2001. Richard Allen stated he had not been on that property where the unspent round was found, which would have been Ron Logan's, who's now deceased. That he did not know the property owner and that he had no explanation as to why the round was cycled through his firearm would be at that location. Furthermore, he stated he would never allow anyone to use it or borrow it. Investigators believe that after the victims were
Okay, wait, can I
murdered-
stop you for a second?
Yeah.
How do you think that gun round got there. Do you think he used the gun as a way to subdue them? Like, don't you move, don't you go, because a gun,
Oh,
you
it was
could be,
absolutely an
yeah, like
intimidation tactic. Yeah.
a gun, you don't have to be as close as a knife. With a knife, they have to be right next to you, type of deal. Do you think he used the gun as a tactic to, don't you move, maybe pointing the gun at one, with the knife at another? Because it's just so odd, because we know that they did die from sharp force injuries, to find an unspent round.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've always thought that, I've had different feelings about like how he would detain two people if this was one
Yes.
person, because there's been so many theories around the girls' deaths. But, there was also this part of me that felt like one wouldn't leave the other.
One wouldn't leave the other, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, they were
So
best friends. They did everything together. They were definitely going to be there to protect each other at the end.
I couldn't imagine what you must go through of being with a best friend, and your best friend, and the only option you have is to leave and leave your friend behind. Like, God, it's horrific.
I know. Okay, so investigators believe he was seen by Sarah Carbaugh walking back to his vehicle on County Road 300 North with clothes that were muddy and bloody. So Tony Liggett, along with investigators, believe the statements made by the witnesses, because the statements corroborate the timeline of the death of the two victims, as well as coincide with the admissions by Richard Allen. Further, the accounts replayed by Betsy Blair, RV, BW, and AS are similar in nature, and timestamps on photographs taken by BW correspond to the time of the juvenile females, said that they were on the trail and saw that male individual. It says that they believe Richard Allen committed this kidnapping. So a lot of people wonder why that they threw kidnapping in there, and I think that that's something that they feel like they could get a sure charge on.
Yes,
because of the video.
That's not unusual. You took them against their will.
Right.
Well, the fact that he had a gun there to scare them is kidnapping.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't their cause of death.
So they said that Richard Allen committed this kidnapping, which resulted in the killing of victim 1 and victim 2. From their prior conclusions, investigators believe Richard was the male depicted, saying guys down the hill. They believe Richard Allen was carrying his SIG on that day due to the cycled round matching the firearm. They further believe he was carrying the SIG from the audio from victim 2's video, in which investigators believe they hear the sound of a gun being cycled and one of the victims mentioning a gun. So that's part of what was cut out of the video that they said they had more of.
Can you read that line one more time?
Mm-hmm. So they further believe he was carrying the SIG from the audio from victim 2's video, in which investigators believe they hear the sound of a gun being cycled and one of the victims mentioning a gun. So gun is the word that was left out of that audio that we were hearing that had the Snapchat loop.
Yes.
What's
a gun being cycled mean, though?
Like around.
Okay.
So he would have cocked the gun to put the bullet into the chamber.
Right.
So then they would know by the sound that it's an actual loaded gun, right? But he didn't actually pull the trigger to fire the gun. He just put the bullet in the chamber. That's what happened. And then he did it again. And when he did it again, that's when the actual live round was expelled from the chamber, because only one bullet can be in the chamber at a time.
Jesus. Okay. Thank you.
So investigators believe after that time, victim 1 and victim 2 were removed from the bridge by Richard to where their murders occurred. Charges were filed against Richard Allen on October 28 for 2 counts of murder. Once Richard Allen was taken into custody, he was moved to the Westville Correctional Facility, which is part of the Indiana Department of Corrections, for safekeeping. He has been in said facility since November 2022. When Richard Allen entered the facility, he was placed in the segregation unit for his protection. So this is important because it's a lot it has to do that's being contested right now. It's just his treatment. So again, why these files are being released has been from public podcasters wanting more information about his admission because they're trying to say that he was not in the right mental state and it had to do with the prison conditions. So, in this segregation unit, his cell is equipped with a video recorder which records his activities within the cell. There's also logs indicating when Richard Allen leaves the cell and for what purposes. He has also been seen by medical providers and mental health specialists to evaluate his physical condition and monitor his mental health. Richard Allen also has the ability to use a tablet in his cell to send text messages and make phone calls and listen to music. Upon Richard's arrival to the facility, he was placed on unaliving watch because of certain statements he made about harming himself. Throughout his stay, his mental health improved at the point he was taken off of unaliving watch. He was also participating in recreation time and beginning to exercise. Okay. So the facility reports that he was doing well and they had no issues or concerns. His day-to-day demeanor was that he was quiet, read a lot of books, did crossword puzzles, and exercised. Here comes April 3rd, so this is when everything changes. Richard Allen made a phone call to his wife, Kathy Allen. In that phone call, Richard Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby.
Wow.
Investigators had the phone call transcribed. And so when they pick up the phone, like it gives you a memo and it tells you that like all calls are being recorded. So it's not like a secret hidden, line or anything.
Oh, they know.
Yeah, investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged. His wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly. Soon after, attorneys for Richard Allen filed an emergency motion to modify safekeeping order. In that motion, the defense states that Richard Allen's mental state has declined because Westville Correctional Facility is unfit and that he should be moved. Defense also makes allegations that his mental health has declined to the point where Richard Allen has been deprived of his constitutional right. To assist in his defense of his case, further defense alleges that his mental capacity has declined because of his incarceration at Westville Correctional Facility. Defense has also challenged his treatment, that it's unconstitutional. And then soon after, investigators were made aware by the warden of Westville Correctional Facility that Richard began to act strangely. So this is what Neys and I were really kind of diving into, is this timing, because it just seemed all so weird, right, Neys?
Right.
Well, the state of events for everything leading up to this was like bam, bam, bam. And you can see like the progress of events. So I think it was May 27th. The defense attorneys sent Richard Allen 1,000 pages of documents for him to go over. So I believe that would have been like the discovery. And they said as of April 3rd, their client still never got these papers. But April 3rd is the exact same date he confessed to his mother and his wife over 5 times on the phone that he murdered the girls. And then the wife abruptly hangs up. And then the next day, the defense lawyers state Richard Allen's mental health is in question.
Right.
So I believe what happened was the wife hung up with Richard and she called the defense attorneys right away. Like, who wouldn't? You find out your husband just confessed to you about murdering. Like, I want to talk to a lawyer myself. Like, should I be divorcing this man? What should I be doing? Like, I had nothing to do with this. I don't want to be accused of having anything to do with this. What should I do?
Yeah.
So I think that's how defense found out right away.
Yeah.
Amanda Meatfoot says, I hate to even ask this, but do you think the girls were sexually assaulted? I'm not sure as far as any form of penetration, but I think the way that they may have been staged may have been in a sexual manner. What do you guys think?
I think that I don't think as of right now any SA has been talked about, but there are still like 19 sealed pages. But the fact that also there was huge talks about signatures and what are signatures to killers and stuff like that, and the staging of, unfortunately, their bodies after the crime happened.
But
And
remember,
where was I
staging
going with this?
remember how we went over staging could just be like moving to a different location or something
Yep.
like that, but
Right,
posing,
and that was discussed already.
but
Yeah.
posing is different, and I think
Posing is like the Black Dahlia. She was
Yes.
posed. Her body, which was in two halves. Whoever staged her legs wide open, the most shocking form. So when you stumble upon it,
like BTK
Oh.
did posing.
Yes, that's right. No, what I was going for was the fact, like, I think the assumption of the SA came from the fact that the perpetrator made their clothes were off of them.
right?
So I think that's where the assumption of SA could have possibly happened, but nothing has been confirmed to date.
But we
I
have learned
certainly, as a mother, hope to have nothing like that happened, but
yeah, underwear and a sock was missing from the scene. So he may have been taking that as a trophy.
well, I still believe to this day it's still missing.
Yeah. I'm so sorry to hear that, Lindsay. I'm so sorry. But yeah, they're sealed for that. Yeah. So it may, but again, and I've talked about this before with crimes like this, there can be sexual gratification, but not in the normal sexual sense. They could have a sexual gratification from the actual killings themselves. Or, so there could be a sexual side of it, but not in the standard way that we think.
Right. And that's kind of the thing that, they've talked about, even alluding to with the Idaho 4 murders. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Musicity Mom. That was so sweet. And Lucia, you got it.
Okay, so this is okay. Y'all want to hear? This is the weird stuff people were pointing out. So,
yes,
Richard Allen started wetting down paperwork he'd gotten from his attorneys and was eating it.
Come again?
He was eating
while on a hunger strike. Was that not true, Shay? He refused to eat food, but he would eat his documents.
Yeah, and refused to sleep. So this is after he confessed to his wife. So nobody knew about this timeline. People were just like, "What the heck?" And now it makes sense.
Well, and remember his last court hearing, like a lot of people showed sympathy towards him because they're like, no, this isn't right. For one, why is he in a prison when he hasn't been found guilty of crimes yet? Two, look at his picture. His picture, he looks like, his defense puts it as a prisoner of war because he is clearly deteriorated. But all of this sympathy was pushed by the defense agenda, and then you find everything else that came up to this portion, and it's like, look how much we're gaslit.
Angela wants to know, what day did they give Richard his paperwork? What day do you say, Neys?
May 27th. Wait.
No.
Let me go back to my notes.
So April 3rd is whenever he confesses to his wife. Soon after his
March 23rd, sorry. 1,000 pages were delivered to the correctional to be given to RA.
Oh, yes, that part, sorry.
So he was eating his paperwork.
He would go days on end refusing to sleep. He further broke the tablet, so I mentioned this earlier, that he used for text messages and phone calls. He went from making up to 2 phone calls a day as of April 3rd, when he confessed to his wife, to not making any phone calls at all. To date, Richard Allen still has not made a phone call since April 3rd, 2023.
So as soon as he confessed, everything changed.
Yes.
Riddler says, didn't Richard Allen request to be moved from the jail? He's in prison.
Okay. Well, no. Okay, so that timeline events was
Thanks, Amber. Love you too.
October 28th was the day he was arrested, correct? October 28th, 2022. And then November 3rd, he was taken from jail to prison for safekeeping. To this date, I haven't figured out if that was actually on request of the previous judge, Judge Diener,
Thank you, Lindsay.
because he recused himself of the case on November 3rd as well. And that was the day he was moved into prison for safekeeping. And then November 9th was when Richard Allen begged for a public defender because he couldn't afford an attorney on his own. And then November 14th was the day that Richard Allen was assigned his public defenders that he has to date.
Yes.
Hi, Mars. Thank you so much, Lindsay, too. Is there a trial set?
Yes, in January.
So I'm almost done with this. I'm gonna try to get through this because I cannot stay on that long tonight. I'm sorry, my parents are trying to get a hold of me. So let me see. On April 14th, 2023, Richard Allen was evaluated by 2 psychiatrists and 1 psychologist to discuss his turn of behavior and whether or not there was a need for involuntary medication. The panel would also discuss moving Richard Allen to a different facility that had a psychiatric unit. From that meeting, it was determined that Richard Allen did not need involuntary medication and he did not need to be moved to another facility. Since that meeting, Richard Allen has begun to eat again and has begun to sleep. His behavior has began to return to what it was prior to making the admission on April 3rd, 2023. Investigators believe the information that Westville Correction Facility has gathered since Richard Allen was placed in that facility is important to the investigation. Investigators believe that there's video evidence that will include his admissions plus his behavior prior to admission and directly after. Investigators also believe logs kept of his daily routines are important to determine when he was in his cell and when he was removed and the reasons he was removed. Further, in any records or physical exams and or mental exams will be important to determine the state of his mental and physical health. This information is needed to refute the allegations made in defense's emergency motion to modify safekeeping order. The evidence is also necessary to refute the allegations of diminished mental capacity and or possible defenses. It may also be important as the state introduces additional evidence gathered, including admissions made by Richard Allen himself. Investigators believe all the information is important in the continued investigation for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So this just kind of, yeah, that's pretty much it. The other one I would say is that's been kind of a topic of discussion is getting to see the stuff that was pulled out from the search warrant. If I showed everyone the court documents, to be honest with you guys, it is
We could just discuss it. We could just discuss it. We don't have to pull it all up.
Well, no, I have an article. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, perfect.
So as I say, I would rather show you guys the article than have to do that because it's very
there's a lot of formalities.
It's easier to read.
Yes, much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so share screen.
Hi, Jaded. Yeah, Jen, me too. You know, like the Idaho has been taking over everything, but it shows you again years and years in the making, right? Waiting, and it's nice for this case to get justice, you know, for these girls to get justice.
Hey, Amanda, I missed you earlier.
Meaty foot, Wolfie.
Alrighty, so I'm just gonna go down. Do you want me to read over this? Okay, so in total, so court documents show after 7 p.m. on October 13th, it yielded numerous weapons, including a gun, several knives, clothing, electronics, and shoes were also seized by Indiana State Police. In total, over 75 items were taken by police during 2 separate searches of Allen's home on October 13th. The first search, which began at 7:09 p.m., yielded the following: a black SIG 40 caliber handgun that we went over, a 40 caliber S&W cartridge found in a wooden keepsake box, a 40 caliber S&W cartridge found in the SIG, a magazine filled with 9 40 caliber cartridges, a magazine filled with 8 40 caliber cartridges, a paper wrapped wooden weave box containing 2 audio box devices, 2 silver Motorola flip phones, 4 car chargers, and 3 wall outlet chargers. So that's kind of interesting. And I don't know if it's on this one, but I remember whenever I was going over it, like he still even had like beepers, like pagers.
I was gonna say it's really old, and 2 silver. Wow.
Yeah.
He was like
So-
the definition of a hoarder, keeping
Mhm.
everything from that far back.
A property receipt filed by police indicated that both the SIG pistol and cartridge found in the wooden box were sent to a lab for examination. Ask Dad. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You want me to read it? I can read it.
I can go. My kids don't ever ask my husband for dinner. It's only me.
If you could go, Shay.
No, it's fine. I'm almost done, and then I'll jump off.
Okay.
Later into the night of October 13th, around 9:45 p.m., police returned to the 1900 block of Whiteman Drive for a second search. This time, they see 7 various sheathed knives. So, to our understanding, I've always been told that the girls were killed with a sharp,
Yeah. I think that was always the rumor from the very beginning, right?
Yes, and that's what we were saying. Like maybe the pew pew is just like an intimidation tactic,
To control both. Yeah.
Yes. So 7 various sheathed knives, 8 various folding knives, 4 various multi-tools. I don't think there's a problem with having knives and guns, especially like, in this type of area and being in Texas, like that stuff is like normal to me.
Yeah.
It's more that like he's admitting to wearing all the same things that guy had. And
Yeah, that's crazy. Like literally that is the description of the killer. And it's like, that's what I was wearing. Yep.
Yeah. 8 various folding knives, 4 various multi-tools, a miniature katana with a red tassel, 3 pairs of boots.
What's a katana?
I'd have to look it up.
I'll Google it.
Okay, 3 pairs of boots, 12 various quarter zip or full zip sweatshirts, 3 coats, 4 various stocking caps and hats, 10 pairs of gloves.
Sorry.
Oh, the sword.
I told you guys, didn't I say in the beginning, like a sharp edge weapon could be like a sword. It could be like, I'm telling you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. 2 pairs of gloves, various fabric straps, 2 HP laptops, multiple headbands, cardboard phone box, empty ammo box, 3 flash drives, 1 labeled Rick, 2 hard drives, an iPod, 12 cell phones, 2 pagers, several miscellaneous chargers and phone accessories, a GPS system, a motorcycle cover, and an Aquafina water bottle. The search warrants continued the following day on October 14th when ISP troopers searched a Ford Focus at Indiana State Police District 14's post in West Lafayette. This search, which Doc showed occurred around 2 p.m., yielded 3 items. So this is another thing that a lot of people are finding interesting. A cutting of carpeted area under a spare tire in that Ford Focus. Swabbing from the driver's lap belt and the driver's shoulder belt in the Ford Focus. Swabbing from the passenger's side carpeted floorboards.
I remember this was 5 years after the incident.
Yeah.
And they were still removing this.
On May 19, 2023, attorneys representing Allen filed a motion to suppress the evidence seized by ISP from their client's home. They argued in part that the search warrant was unconstitutional. So all of that has been released now. The affidavit failed to connect generic items to actual items that were possibly used in the crime. So there is a lot of different documents that are out there that I know we've kind of been going through, but I am unfortunately going to have to jump off to call my family. And Nace, if you want to point out anything else, please do.
You are totally
I
fine.
think you covered it all, honestly. Like all the key points I wanted to talk about, it was all in there. So you did great. Thanks, Shay.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys. I'll
thank
talk to
so
you
much,
soon.
Shay. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me up.
Bye.
Wait.
What?
Which one had which part had where the guy who originally took Richard Allen being there? Which document was that?
The inmate letter?
Yes. No, not the inmate letter. The one that originally took down Richard Allen was there, but they overlooked it.
The conservation officer.
Yes. Which one is
Yeah.
that?
That was in the big document that Shay read at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Were you here?
Yeah, I was
Kidding.
Oh, wait.
I was
Hold
here.
on.
Okay.
Hold on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. I am having I have 5 cats and they're like jumping everywhere right now. Sorry. I had something. I was like, oh, I was gonna show this, and then we like moved on. So let me grab it because it's not very long.
Neys burned me, guys.
Huh?
What?
Neys burned me. Weren't you here?
I've been gaming and listening. Shay has like such a soothing voice.
I know she does.
I love y'all.
I get information overload though, to be fair. Like when I, with ADD, like if I have too much going on, my brain can't compute it. Like it's too much.
It was a lot to go through yesterday. I'm still not done going through like 284 pages they dumped on us in one day after 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am a bit of one that like when I go down a rabbit hole, like I will blow you up with research and then like I'll die down for a little while and then I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to see some of the state's response, but I thought I'm just looking at it really quickly to see if there's anything else I could point out that.
How crazy is that Riddler?
What?
The grandmother of Libby said the man arrested and accused of unaliving her granddaughter also was the man who printed off pictures for Libby's funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gave it to her free of charge.
Oof. So you never know. And it really does bug me out because think of it like we, as an individual, you see through your own perspective and you have the whole world. Yet every single person you ever come in contact with has a whole world of their own with connections of their own. You never know who you are touching elbows with, even who you pass the supermarket. You have no idea.
No. It's pretty scary raising a child in society when you think of both when you investigate true crime.
Yep.
It's like, wow.
It really is.
Yeah. I wish I could, I'm sure I have more out here, but I think that it's just going to be more unfolding with this. It's interesting to see how the defense is playing off this admission of guilt.
I think they're trying to get thrown out.
Yes.
At this point, like, I think the last that I was reading into in those documents last night, that was the direction I felt they were going in.
Yeah, and I feel that even though, obviously you're innocent until proven guilty, I just personally feel like they got their guy. That's just my opinion, just based on everything I've read over. I was one of the ones that did that little side-by-side with the press conference, it's just still this part, I think, Nace, that obviously you want justice for the victims, but I do want to understand this Anthony Schatz profile and this connection with Keegan Shine.
Yes. Wouldn't that be awesome if Abby and Libby could take down that too? Like, what better way for justice for those girls than to take down that whole cell?
That was a weird thing, yeah.
And I think that's why this case has always been interesting to me, because to me is two totally different crimes. Like for you think that there may still be a connection, but like for all the evidence I've seen so far, I don't think they're connected. That's just my
Neys
gut
thinks it's like
feeling.
happenstance that there happen to be two separate predators who targeted these girls.
Yeah.
One just got to act on it.
Yeah. And like,
It's terrifying.
It's scary thinking about how much danger these girls were in and they had no idea of it. Like social media and being off social media, regardless of their choices, like they're being preyed on. It's just so sickening.
Mm-hmm.
And I just look at like, you know, a 1 versus 2 people. I mean, even though you're an adult versus 2 teenage girls, like that's a risk in itself. That's what's always been kind of, you know, in the back of my mind. So, you know, I get it. Like it's just interesting to me. So thank y'all for having me up. I do have to go though. My mom is gonna keep calling me.
Thanks, Shay.
We appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye. I did want to pull this up though and go over it. So this was another inmate at the Westville Correctional Facility, and it says, "Dear clerk of courts," and it was dated January 11th, 2023. And it
January?
says, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that as 1, but it says April.
April. Yeah. Because that's the dates that I was looking into.
Yeah, sorry. I thought that was 1-11, but it says April. It was an L. Apologies. So April 11, 2023, and it says, "I am an inmate at Westville Correctional Facility in the same unit that Richard Allen is being housed in awaiting trial. Richard Allen is being abused and mistreated along with other inmates in Westville Control Unit Restrictive Housing. There are corrupt officers and ranking officers calling Richard Allen a kid killer, teasing him that he has a visit from his family. Phone is ringing on his GTL tablet. Inmates in cells A1-102, Logan Osborne, A2-207 inmate Riley." He names a few more inmates, "threatening to kill Richard Allen and telling him to kill himself. And these inmates have made these comments in front of Warden John Jalupo, ranking officers and officers. The staff has recorded on camera these inmates making these threats and suggestions to kill himself and has done nothing to stop it. I have proof and evidence of assaults by ranking officers and officers on inmates, abuse and mistreatment in grievance and the governor's office on Ombudsman Bureau that have been mishandled and covered up because the Indiana Department of Corrections is allowed to police itself with their Office of Investigation and Intelligence. I recently sent letters to the U.S. Department of Justice from Indiana State Representative Dr. Vernon G. Smith and from the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee concerning the DOJ and FBI mishandling complaints on the Indiana Department of Correction and their facilities. On March 21st, 2023, while in the same unit as Richard Allen, I attempted suicide and spent 3 days in the hospital due to staff and officer abuse and mistreatment. On April 9th, 2022, I attempted self-harm and spent 4 days in the hospital intensive care unit. The IDOC or their mental health provider has provided me no mental health or treatment. I correspond with the New York Times investigative reporter and her team at the University School of Law and have made them aware of these assaults, abuse, and mistreatment and going on here at Westville Correctional Facility and other IDAC facilities. Please forward this to the judge in Richard Allen's case and to his attorneys because I have wrote to the organizations mentioned to expose the assaults, abuse, and mistreatment. Respectfully submitted and sincerely, Robert P. Baston. And it says, P.S. Richard Allen's attorneys just exposed the abuse and mistreatment in the news media and filed an emergency petition in the court. So interesting, right?
I can't with that, Karen. No, I can't. Like, he's not a club med. He's in a prison. How does he think things are going to be handled?
Shay.
Like, I don't know how else they can keep him safe. He's in solitary confinement. He's in a cell. You can't gag other people for having opinions.
I can't. Yeah, but See, I'm not sure exactly how the protocol works, but you're not allowed to have officers telling you to unalive yourself and
Yeah, but this is also coming from an inmate. So did the correction officers really say that? Like, I can see the inmate saying that.
I do believe, listen, corruption does exist, unprofessionalism, abuse, like there are officers who get inmates pregnant. It happens.
That's true. And like I was telling Shay earlier, like they're in prison, they're in their own little community. So look at the timeline of events with this. Richard Allen was given those papers, March 27th. He confessed to his family on April 3rd. So who all heard him confess? And allegedly, he confessed to other inmates as well. So, of course, he's going to get recoil for that.
Right. And then this was, Richard Allen wrote this. It was filed November 9th, 2022. He wrote, in the cause listed above, I, Richard M. Allen, hereby throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided with legal assistance in a public defender or whatever help is available. At my initial hearing on October 28th, 2022, I asked to find representation for myself. However, at the time, I had no clue how expensive it would be just to talk to someone. I also did not realize what my wife and I's immediate financial situation. And again, what I'm noticing is a lot of spelling errors. Like he wasn't. Okay. So I also did not realize what my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going to be. We have both been forced to immediately abandon employment, myself due to incarceration and my wife for her personal safety. She has had to abandon our house for her own safety. She has, what little reserve there is will fail to even maintain the original residence. Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please provide me whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in the most urgent matter. Sincerely, Richard M. Allen. So is it? Yeah, they do it in nursing homes. They do it to patients in a vegetative state.
Yeah.
There have been, it's horrific, okay? And it happens in nursing homes. It happens everywhere, unfortunately.
There's predators in any profession. Like, predators are predators. They hide in plain sight.
Yeah, right. Well, and Amber, this is the hard part. There's a chance that it is not true, and the inmates are doing it as a form to help themselves. And there's a chance, there's just as much as a likelihood that it is true. And of course, the wardens and officers are not going to say it's true. So it's hard to determine which is legit, which isn't.
But let's say devil's advocate and say it is true.
Right.
What are the wardens supposed to do with words? Because that's what it is. They're mocking him. It's words. What are they supposed to do? Gag the other inmates because it's offensive to Richard Allen?
Yeah, if it's abuse, if it's threats, I don't know. If it's physical abuse, that's one thing.
Absolutely, physical abuse is crossing that line. But it's words that he's indicating in this letter.
I don't know.
But going back to that letter, look how much compassion Richard Allen is showing his wife.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that interesting? His wife, he has all this compassion for and esteem for. Well, but yet he's on trial for killing 2 innocent children.
Right. Well, and it sheds light, like you said, the moment that, Richard Allen gets all of this paperwork, which is most likely the discovery, is the same time he openly admits to his wife and mother that he killed these girls more than 5 times, minimum of 5 times. And ever since then, his health has severely declined, at least that we can observe. Significant weight loss, eating his paperwork, not eating, not sleeping. And is that because finally he no longer had to play this facade? He was no longer pretending. Is it because he realizes what he's done to his family? Did he really finally find out how much evidence they really do have on him and that he's fucked and he just gave it up, And I think he is concerned with how this has affected his family. But again, there's only so much sympathy I could have. Of course, I have sympathy for the family if they had no involvement, but I can't imagine how horrific it is when the autopsies finally come out.
Mm-hmm. See, I think he was saving face for his family.
Yeah. Like
before it actually goes to trial. Yeah. Because now he knows exactly what they have on him. Because there was nothing in the media, like there was a gag order on it. So everything that the prosecution had was always tight-lipped. He found out before the rest of the public did. We found out yesterday.
Right.
And if we're just like, holy shit, he's doomed. Like, imagine what he was thinking when he found out. He's like, yeah, they got me.
Yep. And Amber, the second one that I had just read, the most recent one, was written by Richard, pleading to the court for a defense attorney. The first one I read was from another inmate who has witnessed the abuse that Richard Allen is going through and himself. Yeah. They've been together for over 20 years. Wow.
Yeah, they have a child together that's in her 20s.
Bye, Riddler.
Bye, Riddler.
I hope that, because I always have the fear that there's more truth. Like, okay, even if Richard is guilty, the chance that there could be more to the story and they don't get justice. Because I'm a big believer in order to get justice, you need to know what
the whole truth.
Yes, you need to know the full, no matter how horrible that truth is, it needs to be known. Because I can't imagine being murdered or being killed in such a horrific manner and nobody ever really knowing what happened to me. Like, that's got to be, like, just, you have to know. And so I hope that when they go to trial, like, all loose ends will be tied up and these girls fully get the justice that they deserve.
But that brings me back, like, if the defense starts saying there was an accomplice, that's the only way the whole truth will be known, is if Richard Allen starts singing. And if he confessed to his family, like, if there was any talk of somebody else being in there, that would be the time he would speak, I think. Is for defense to start reaching for reasonable doubt that no, he wasn't the only person there. So did he, in fact, was he the one that actually unalived these girls?
Mm-hmm. And Shay says, first high-profile case where Snapchat has been used in evidence. And you know what? Idaho 4 may be the second. Brian Koberger, we know Snapchat, Reddit, all of those records are being summoned. We've heard a lot of rumors regarding messages going out on Snapchat the morning of. And it's going to be interesting. And guess what? As we evolve and as technology evolves, law enforcement and the courts need to start to catch up, because even I've had my own experience where, trust me when I say the police, law enforcement, the courts are not up to date with where technology is at. Technology is moving faster than the courts are. And so as it's advancing, we're trying to catch up with it. Hi, Guidance. Yeah, Murdoch too. That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Murdoch was another huge one.
Yes. And so social media is going to be playing a bigger and bigger role, and everything is documented nowadays in one way or another. And so it's just interesting. But there's been a lot of information in these documents. I feel like, as time goes on and people go deeper into each document, as we look in we're going to probably find something else that stands out every time. There's a lot. How many pages are there?
284.
Yeah, that's a lot of pages.
And 19 pages are still under the gag order.
Yeah. Yep. But he is confessing or saying, so Jen, he has confessed 5 times on the recorded phone line at the jail to his wife and mother. Now, we don't know what the specifics are. We don't know what exactly he said. They have transcribed it, but it's not available to the public yet. So I'm going to be really curious to see what words did he use. I did it.
The tone, the whole totality of it, honestly.
Yeah. And like I said, I was listening to the interview with the homicide detective, and he said there are times where somebody will come in and they will admit to a crime that they're not even being investigated to because it has eaten away at them. Or once someone is finally pulled in, they do just admit to it because it weighs on them. And it's like, I haven't lived a normal life since it. Like, I need to get this off my chest. But what he did also say is that once you open your mouth once, it kind of comes flooding out. So it doesn't surprise him that he repeated it at least 5 times, because once he finally uttered the words that he did it, he couldn't control continuously saying it because he had been holding that back in for years and years and years. So once it came out, it kept coming out, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, not as far as we know. But he didn't. Again, he could be very, very invested in the defense of not in the right mental state. So who knows if this is a performance, but I will say he looks legitimately disturbed right now. He does not look healthy. He does not look in the right state of mind. Again, that could be.
You should show the pictures, Melissa, for comparison.
Okay. Let me pull it up.
Like when the defense says prisoner of war, like you actually have sympathy for him. Because without knowing everything that was just released, you actually thought like, wow, like, is he being abused? What's going on? He looks so malnourished. He does not look like the same man.
No, he doesn't. Not at all. There's so many Richard Allens. When you type in, you have to type in Delphi. Because there's a lot of Richard Allens. It's a very common name. Okay. So here we go. I don't want to let me zoom in. Do it like this. He doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So to the right is the most recent photo, aside from when he was seen in court. And you could see there's dribble on his shirt. He has lost a significant amount of weight. Apparently he is in like not clean clothes. It's
the defense was saying that he's in clothes that have been soiled and like not changed for 3 or 4 days, and like what the defense says, if it's happening, is absolutely horrific. And they took that picture of him on April 4th, the day after he confessed.
wow.
Yeah.
So their whole argument is going to be he was not, and there's documents that we hadn't pulled up, but again, questioning his mental health and competency. And that's where the defense is leaning. Because again, as of now, he is still pled not guilty. Now, how do you do that for somebody who has admitted at least 5 times? They were going to call him to question. He was not in the right mental state, not at the time of the crime, at the time that he confessed. And so this is going to be very interesting. But you could see to the right is the photo of him when he was first arrested. And to the left is the current photo that he has severely declined in health, hygiene, mental status. He was eating his court his court documents.
The ones that alleged he never received.
Well, he received them and he consumed them and then pooped them out. But even his hands, I'm sorry, this is where I think about, like, is this an act? But even his hand, the way he's holding that one hand, just frail, very frail, right? Then I think about what he's allegedly done, and he has not been convicted. So I'm going to, I'm going to reserve my
He
judgment.
hasn't been convicted, but I think there's very compelling evidence against him.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully the state has a solid case without the confession, then it can be thrown out and it won't matter. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we shall see, but if we pick out any other interesting thing within the documents, I'll make sure to bring it with you guys. But thank you, Shay and Neys, for coming up and going over with it. It's been a long time in the making, man. It really has.
Yeah, because I think we started covering this case, looking into it when we first met.
Yeah, we did. I never covered it all the way in the beginning. I didn't even I followed it, but I didn't follow it in depth, like as far as all of the connections with what's his name, Keaton Klein.
Oh yeah.
So I never went down too deep into it. So when we first met and started talking, that's when I started but it's hard if you don't follow a case in real time that has a lot that goes into it. It's very hard to play catch up.
Well, it's even hard because of the lack of evidence and everything over the past 2 years, even.
Right.
It was a lot to reach out your memory of all the loopholes you went down and all the rabbit holes and oh my God, because there was another guy. What was his name? Christopher something. Christopher James III, maybe? Anyways, he was that man that got arrested where he had a child in his basement. And we're like, oh my God, is there any links to Delphi? People were just screaming for answers.
Yep. And it's kind of similar to the Idaho case. Imagine if everything paused right now with the Idaho case 5 years down the line, trying to explain the Idaho case to someone who hadn't followed it in real time. What we actually know is very minimal. But at the same time, it's oh my God, we went through eternity and back. We went through every rabbit hole possible. And it's where do you even begin? And that's how I felt. That and Summer Wells. Summer Wells is also one that sometimes when a case gets too blown up, I won't even once it starts to get made a spectacle. Sometimes I won't even go in that territory. And that's how I was with Summer Wells. But more recently, I'm I want to look into this more. I want to see what's going on. And I didn't even know where to begin. It was really hard. Yeah, he was in trouble for another crime.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you, Neys. Thank you, Shay, so much.
Thank you guys for hanging in there.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for anybody who had gifted membership, sent a super chat. Your support means so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I moved the Idaho Live that was for tonight to tomorrow, so I'll be on tomorrow afternoon. But thank you, girls, so much for coming up. And, hopefully we get justice for these victims. It's been a long time coming, and they deserve their day. You did great, Shay. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.